All right, fantastic panel. One more round of applause for Sherry, Kate, and Ruth. Before we let you go, we do have one final kind of overview. There's a lot of questions in terms of the process by which we do to determine the speakers, the theme, and all the back-end work. And now we're going to recognize the NICE Conference Planning Committee. If you were a NICE Conference Planning Committee member, please stand up to be recognized. As many of you know, the NICE Planning Committee is made up of 15 representatives from across academia, industry, and government, and they're responsible for helping us identify the most pressing issues facing the cybersecurity education, training, and workforce development process in the United States. In this year, they spent a year of commitment of time, not just meeting monthly, but also identifying potential topics, themes, tracks. They're the ones that set resetting expectations as the theme for this year's conference. And most importantly, they reviewed the hundreds of proposals that you all submitted line by line, hotly contested debate as to who should speak at the conference, and they'll talk a little bit more about that. But we are happy to bring to the stage our 3 committee co-chairs representing academia, industry, and government, Dr. Zoe Fowler from Norwich University, Mr. Daniel Lopez from Amazon Web Services, and Mr. Zack Hudgins from the Washtek Technology Solutions.
Hello, everyone. I want to say again, welcome to the 14th annual NICE conference. I'm Zack Hudgins, and I work as a privacy manager for the state of Washington's central IT agency. I help local governments build privacy programs which overlap with the cybersecurity programs, and today it's a real combination, right? There's a sweet spot between privacy and cybersecurity. I come from being a policymaker for 18 years in the state legislature. Some of my friends say recovering politician, but it's a different perspective to bring to working with private sector and public sector. I used to work at Amazon.com and Microsoft before I joined public service, and it's exciting to be part of the planning committee because of all of the different representatives that were there. I consistently hear that the private sector and the public sector are both facing similar challenges and problems. And this NICE framework and this NICE conference really does address, I think, a path forward for us to solve those challenges. I haven't seen a problem yet that we can't solve when the public sector and the private sector align with each other. And that's why I've been part of the planning committee over the last year, helping to read your proposals, many of you, and look at all of the great ideas out there about addressing these challenges from different perspectives. So again, thanks for coming all the way out here to Seattle. Thanks for being here today, and I hope you have a wonderful conference.
Hello, my name is Daniel Lopez. I'm a security learning manager at Amazon, and I'm standing here because I am a product of a cyber workforce development program. Right? So out of school, I essentially got the opportunity to go through a rotational program in my organization where I was able to discover cybersecurity, loved it, got involved on it, became a security engineer, and then over time, worked on infrastructure development, security, product security, tools. And as of the past few years, I've been sort of switching my career towards focusing on the human side of security, focusing on security awareness programs to help people be safe online, both internally at Amazon and externally. So this is near and dear to my heart, and when I was given the chance to join the planning committee, I certainly didn't hesitate to be part of it. So thanks.
Hi, and I'm Zoe Fowler. I'm based at Norwich University in Vermont, and I'm also the principal researcher for the NCAEC's Careers Preparation National Center. I love that we've got a really catchy name for that, but it's really exciting work. My professional background is in education and research, and I've always had a particular interest in capacity building, competency work, social inclusion, and social justice and inclusivity. I've done a lot of my work both within the UK and the US in that sweet spot between education, employment, and policy. And for me, the opportunity to come into the planning committee and work with stakeholders from each of those contexts is really important in driving forward the cybersecurity agenda, the education agenda. So we had that representation on our planning committee, but also if you look around this room, I think what's special about this conference is this unique opportunity to meet stakeholders from different contexts and to engage in those conversations with people who are addressing the same kind of issues, but from different positions. So I'm going to jump in with the start of what we did as a planning committee. The planning starts more than a year in advance. Randy and his team are already thinking about the conference for 2024. We had our first meetings last summer. We got together virtually. We had the opportunity to meet quite a lot of people at the last conference, and then we were able to engage in our monthly virtual meetings. And we brought a shared knowledge of the talent pipeline problem. There are a lot of quantitative surveys, there are a lot of studies showing the problems that we're facing. And I know a lot of that data has been represented already this morning. In a way that offers this 50,000-foot overview. And as a committee, we became very interested in what would happen if we zoomed in to understand what was happening at the ground. There is no view from nowhere for the challenges facing cybersecurity. And we wanted to draw upon the different contexts, the opportunity from different stakeholders, to explore real examples of what's working. What do the challenges look like within the worlds where we're operating? What kind of solutions do we envisage for the future? And it was that focus on the ground level which led into our discussions about the conference theme. We've had the conference theme read out several times this morning, but I just want to do that again because the wording really matters. There was a lot of discussion around the wording. It's resetting expectations, creating accessible cybersecurity career pathways. And that wordplay, for me, is really dynamic because it creates a sense of momentum, direction, and possibility. We're driving forward now. Within that overall conference title, we created strands. You're all here, you'll be familiar with the strands. But we wanted to focus on a strand around education, looking at what was happening within the classroom, but also thinking about the extracurricular opportunities, the experiential opportunities, looking at what's happening in K-12, and really providing an agenda where we can share good educational practice. We created a strand around reskilling and upskilling. As you all know, the days when people graduate college, take on a job and work through to retirement no longer exist. People are shifting. There's a dynamic workforce. And we wanted to talk about how we can reskill and upskill the people who are currently in the workplace, as well as providing opportunities to prepare people to enter the workplace. We also talked a lot about accessibility, as well as having the word accessible within the conference title. We talked about accessibility because it's something which matters to us all on the conference committee in a very real and personal sense. We're fully aware of the challenges of the high levels of burnout within our professional field. And we also wanted to talk about ways of providing equivalently supportive accommodations to our workforce, whatever their backgrounds, their identities, and their abilities. And personally, I'm really excited about the discussions I started to have with people yesterday, the discussions taking place on the Hoover app, and the opportunity to come to workshops and presentations today looking at accessibility. And a quick personal call out, I'm also very keen to connect with people around disability. They're conversations that I want to take forward in my work, and I'm very keen to engage with anyone at the conference who has a particular interest on that. So that kind of gives you the idea of, in the summer, we moved from this 50,000-foot overview, we dialed into what's going on in at the ground level, and then we sent out a call out for papers. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to Daniel, because he has the statistics and the information of what happened next.
Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, so some quick stats for everyone. So we received 130 breakout sessions, of which we selected 28. We had 30 lining sessions, of which we selected 10. And then we had 19 workshops, and we ended up selecting 4. So as you can imagine, there's some difficult decisions we had to make to really pick the sessions for the conference. And so as a planning committee, I know I'm speaking on behalf of everyone who stood up, we're deeply committed to make sure that we give you, the attendees, the best experience for the next 2 days, right? And so as a side note too, we also had a good amount of representation from other countries. So we had entries from the UK, Ireland, Singapore, Brazil, and a couple other countries. So the way that the process worked, essentially we split up the sessions across, as Randy said, a diverse group of folks from academia, government, industry, and NGOs to really measure, score each of the sessions. So we use a rubric that looks at how is that session really tied to the theme? How is that session really innovative? Is that session engaging? Is that session including diversity and inclusion? So based on these scoring mechanisms, we ended up picking, the top numbers that I gave you as the sessions for the conference. So this is kind of how the process rolls, and then we meet every so often on a monthly basis, and when we get closer to the conference date, a couple more times to make sure that we all kind of agree on what those sessions should be. So that's kind of how the process works, and I'll hand it over to Zack to wrap up.
Thank you, Daniel. The first thing in our wrap-up is that I want to mention that there's a slide, there's a next NICE event is in the works and on the books. The NICE K-12 Cybersecurity Education Summit is going to be in Phoenix on December 4th and 5th. Proposals are being taken until July 14th. So I'm sure that you are going to have a great time at this conference. You're going to meet a lot of great people, smart people, innovative people, beautiful people. You should tell all of your friends to go to Phoenix and do it all over again. I can't tell if you're laughing at which part of that, the beautiful people or the smart people. This year's planning committee represented industry leaders, academia, government, both state and federal government, and NGOs. I personally think NGOs are punching above their weight in innovation and impact in our communities. There's not enough professional spaces, in my opinion, where you can meet people and learn from people across all these 4 perspectives at the same time. Too often, I think we're stuck in our silos. We talk to the same people. We can't see innovation that's around us coming from a different perspective or a different sector. But the planning committee really did pull folks together to allow us to have the visibility into those different pieces. And that's what this conference, I think, creates the opportunity for, is for us to talk across those sectors, to look for those ideas, to look for that innovation. So that was one of the things that the planning committee brought forward as a key idea. We need to work across perspectives, across sectors, across silos. And if we're going to solve our looming problem of too many open tech jobs, not enough people in the pipeline, we know we've got talent, but they're not in the pipeline going where we want them to, then we need a conference like this one where we talk across those sectors, across those silos, where we talk to new people with new ideas and new experiences. So please, talk to each other at this conference. Seattle's a friendly town. I live here. It's a great town. It rubs off on people, the innovation, the creativity, the friendliness, especially when the sun's out. So talk to folks, make those connections, trade those virtual business cards. The more you build those relationships, the closer we are to solving our collective problems and challenges. Thank you again for coming out to the NICE conference to the Pacific Northwest, and I hope you have a wonderful visit. Thank you.